Hello friends, this is Wurps, and this is my advanced item guide for all the items in R.E.P.O. I've got about this many hours in the game, which, game's done in a week, don't do the math. And I've got some tricks in store, so let's get started with the Tranq Gun, which is the GOAT. This thing can deal with enemies regardless of their health pools. I'm pretty sure there is health scaling in the game. I don't know exactly how it works. I've one-shot a duck with the regular gun, but then later in the rounds, I don't one-shot the duck, so that's pretty much all I know. I haven't been able to find out any concrete information about this. If you do know, let me know in the comments. And the Tranq Gun can shoot 3 times, it has terrible accuracy, absolutely abysmal. You will need to walk up and plug this gun into them pretty much to reliably actually land this thing. So it works, it's great, you just have to wait until, you see the red of their eyes before you take the shot. And then you just dunk them in a pit. If you don't have a pit, you can lift them up and slam them on the ground repeatedly if you have any teammates around, or if you're strong enough, you can just do it yourself. Now for another extremely good item, the Indestructible Drone, pretty much an auto buy from the shop as well. This makes it so you can freely throw around whatever you want, and it won't take damage. This has a great battery life and is super worth it, will save you tons of time and money. A note, you can use some interactable objects like the Wizard Staff to beam the hell out of things if you put Indestructible on them. Good thing I've got one on, or I would have died. And I have the Feather Drone on here as well. This is kind of a combo. Do be careful with it, as that can happen. It doesn't require the Indestructible Drone to do this. You just have to damage the staff for that to work, so it saves on cost. If you think it might be a bright idea to make an object indestructible and then beat enemies to death with it, unfortunately, you cannot. The devs are afraid. They're afraid of the power, and they should be. The saw also works, but it doesn't stun, so you're going to be hard-pressed killing any actual threatening enemies with it. Here are all the melee weapons, which are quite difficult to use. You can do overhead tosses like that. Takes a lot of practice, honestly. That whip technique also is much more difficult than it appears. Your experience will probably be dying instantly for a while until you learn how to do things like that, which was completely intentional, by the way, the bounce. Super intentional. And so the bat can deal with medium enemies and knock them around, which is pretty much the whole purpose. The frying pan is questionable, really only good for killing ducks. Sword is not great. Sledgehammer is great, though. If you put some practice into it, you get the whip technique down, where I, summon it and then whip towards where I'm trying to hit, like that. Takes a lot of precision. I am also hosting this game, so yeah, it's gonna vary a lot. It's worth learning and messing around with it. You pretty much just have to just go in a game, mess around. It's the only way. I failed 500 times before I, got these sick clips. And you can also destroy doors with the sledgehammer, which is fun. The inflatable hammer, while cheap, does almost no damage. However, it does have a very small chance, like 5% or 4% or something, to explode for 250 damage, which is enough to kill most things. Trudge has 500 health, so it would need 2 explosions to kill him. He's the big red and black knight guy that does the suck slam. As a non-host, it is a struggle sometimes to get melee weapons to actually register, so just prepare to suffer. I wish it was a little more client-sided. The Feather Drone does what it says, makes things light as a feather, allowing you to easily carry them and rotate them around and stuff. Goes well with the Indestructible Drone, so you can just put them both on whatever and then run through the hallways like a madman and not break things. Very useful. I would say this is an auto buy. The drone is fairly cheap as well. You might think, hey, I'll just put the Feather Drone on an enemy and toss them around because they'll be light as a feather, right? Well, it depends. I will cover this more in the Zero Gravity Drone section. Okay, so here is the Feather Drone and the Zero Grav Drone, and their effects on your jumping. As you can see from the Feather, you hop up pretty well, but fall. With the Zero Grav, your hop isn't quite as high, but you fall very slowly, and you do have air control in this. Now, what you can do, if you have both at once for some reason, is you can just maintain buoyancy in the air, and you can move around a bit using tumble. Now, I have like 7 tumble upgrades or something on this, so your mileage will vary. Watch out for items being tossed up in this room specifically that's very tall, because if you have the Zero Gravity Drone on an item, it will just fly up and it will stay up there because it has zero gravity. So yeah, hey, it's the Zero Gravity section. So as you might be able to guess, it reduces the gravity to about 0. And here's me bopping something with a big thing that I would normally not be able to lift which does work. Was it worth the property damage? No, not really. Now this one you can put on enemies, and it will make them light enough for you to lift them around and slam them. However, it will drain the battery insanely fast. This thing normally lasts a very long time and is super useful for moving things around. So I wouldn't recommend using it on enemies, but you can. This clip is unrelated, I just really hate these things. This is the scroll your mouse wheel forward to bop enemies technique. Enjoy. So the roll drone is quite strange. If you put it on an object, the object will chase you. If you put it on a cart, it will also chase you, but will be rotating. Very dangerous, will just knock the crap out of anybody in the area. Now, if you put it on an enemy, it will roll away from you at the cost of an insane amount of battery life. Note that this roll drone was 100% battery when I started it. It's already at 2 bars. It's at 1 bar. This is just not useful, honestly, but, you know, you can do it. It's weird. Now, it's enough for something like a duck, because it will roll away a little violently and kind of bop into the wall. You find any actual uses for this thing? Let me know in the comments. Extraction tracker. Tracks the extraction. Shocker. This uses not much battery, only costs 6k. Pretty useful in the 3rd or 4th quota plus when you have to find a few different extractions on the map. I would buy it. Stun grenade and shockwave grenade. I don't know if there's a difference, honestly, but they're okay. I don't usually buy them. I tend to buy the explosives to just instantly kill them, but you can take advantage of their stun time to pick them up and bop them, which can work against the smaller enemies, or they can buy you some space against the larger ones, even though you really won't be able to do anything to them. I'd say the duct tape grenade is the best one, but I mean, these exist, I guess. The stun mine is also similar. It's like some sort of tracking bear trap thing. They're eh. The regular gun. Now this thing is a little expensive. Kind of costs a lot to refill. Takes 4 shots to kill a trudge. It can be as low as 2 shots for stuff like robe or headman, and as low as 1 for duck, but sometimes more. As you can see here, the gun has terrible accuracy. Like, look at the Looney Tunes ass freaking trajectories those are going. Why? Now the shotgun, like all other guns, is basically a melee weapon, except it actually does damage, so at least there's that. It costs a lot. The 0G orb, unless I am missing something, seems to be completely useless. It costs a ton of energy to use. Like, it hemorrhages energy, and it's just worse than the zero gravity drone. I don't know why you would want it to be in a deployable sphere instead of just connecting to something reliably. I've tried putting this in the cart itself to see if the whole thing would go weightless, but it doesn't. The items do, but the cart doesn't. So what's the point? I don't know. Items underpowered, needs buff, super expensive. The pocket cart. It's like a cart, except it goes in your pocket. You can carry things with it. It's mostly useful for transporting the money bags, since putting them in the cart is a big waste of space. And this is good enough most of the time. The rubber duck is kind of like the inflatable hammer, but twice the chance for it to explode. However, more work and costs more battery. Kind of questionable. Now for the damaging grenades. First we have the human grenade from the secret shop area. Less damage and less radius than the default grenade, but it costs a little less. It's okay. It's not amazing. It's not bad, considering the regular grenade also doesn't one-shot most things that you wish it did. However, the duct tape grenade, now this is actually really good. This explodes for its own grenade damage and then explodes into 3 human grenades that scatter around. Kind of need to position it well, like at the bottom of a staircase or something if you want to focus the damage, but it works well. Now for the recharge drone, aka best item in the game. It is usually 4 or 5k, pretty much an auto buy guaranteed. Do not skip this item. It allows you to hold charge on the go. You can recharge the drone and then use the drone to recharge other things out in the field. It's very useful, and it's amazing, honestly. Now, I'm going to be covering some of the most overpowered things I've found. It may even be in your best interest to just stop watching now. So if you would like to do that, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. If you would like to know, here's the rest. The strongest thing about the energy recharge drone is that weapons only need 1% charge to fire. So if you microcharge it and then just take the drone back, you can fire. However, there's also a bug where taking the main weapon that's being charged back seems to make it have infinite ammo. So that's a bug I'm going to have to report. You can also just take the cart and throw it up on yourself and force yourself into the sneaking mode, which is like being under something. Very hard to see for mobs. A lot actually can't see you. Here's another example, but with the medkits. This can also be done with the small medkit. This is forcing me into being a sneaky boy, and a lot of enemies just can't see you. Anything that you can position in a way that makes your FOV drop into sneaky mode will work. A cabinet, door, a trophy, a lot of things. And some enemies have almost no detection for super sneaky mode. Some do, but Trudge does not.